Okay, today's episode on the day in the life of an artist. FunkStudios Control the Cool has the award-winning Alcohol Inc. artist, Bryant Small. Welcome.
Thanks.
All right. So give us a little background about yourself.
So, I'm originally from Washington, D.C., came to the New York City, New Jersey area for school. I went to FIT, National Institute of Technology, and went to school for advertising and marketing communications, and have had like a 20-something year career run in marketing, social media, advertising, all in that realm. And yeah, so I've been doing that for professionally, in quotes, for the last 20-something years. And about 3 years ago, 2.5, 3 years ago, the art world just kind of opened up for me. My mom's an artist. Was 3 years ago, she came to town, said, I've come across this medium, Alcohol Inc. You should try it. I really think that you would like it. So we sat at my dining room table, put down plastic, and something clicked. And literally since that day, every day, I painted. And it started off really slow with me. People didn't know that I painted.
Gotcha.
So I painted all my life, on and off. Like if I needed something for an apartment I'd moved in or something like that, I would paint something instead of going to an IKEA, Bed Bath & Beyond, wherever, and buying something there. There's anything wrong with it.
Yeah.
I would create my own stuff. So there would be a painting on my wall and people wouldn't know that it was mine. It's just something that I would do for myself. And when she came to town, she said, I think you would like this, you should try it. It really was like opening a door. And I walked through the door and have been painting every single day. What happened is we said we should do a show together. That would be fun to have a mother-son show, just kind of throwing some stuff around. And she says, you should go look for spaces in Jersey or New York, and I'll look for spaces in DC. She's based in DC. And so I started looking and came across Bridge Art Gallery in Bayonne. And walked in, started speaking with the owners of the gallery, and we just started it's owned by Chris and Cheryl Mack, a couple in Bayonne who are amazing people. I was meeting with Chris, who's the husband, and telling him about my art, and he says, what kind of art do you do? And I said, I work in Alcohol Inc. He's like, okay, that sounds interesting. It's like, wait a second, is your screen name 777 or something like that? I was like, yeah. He's like, I like your stuff, I dig your stuff. You should submit for an upcoming show that we have going on. And I showed him my feed on Instagram. He's like, yeah, I know your stuff.
Oh, sweet.
And literally a month later, I had my first show.
Oh, that was awesome.
And now it's 70 shows later. And I don't plan to slow down. But no, that's not true. This year, I have said I'm going to slow down a little bit because it's about having balance. But yeah, it's been nonstop. I don't question the universe. I'm grateful. 70 shows in about 2 years. I've been grinding and working hard, trying to make my mark.
That's what's up.
It seems like it's working.
Must be. Well, for those of us who don't know, give us a little information on Alcohol Inc. art.
Yeah, so Alcohol Inc. is a high pigmented dye that when it comes into contact with 91% rubbing alcohol, it causes the inks to move around. So it's a fluid. The closest medium would be like watercolor. Most people would draw the reference or the comparison to watercolor. In the sense that you are using your inks, your pigments with water. With Alcohol Inc., you're using 91% alcohol, rubbing alcohol. It can be, a lower percentage alcohol, but 91% I see helps it to move better. And so the colors, what happens is the colors and the inks blossom and bloom. So when I'm painting, I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen. So it becomes unpredictable, where other artists in acrylic or oil or wash, whatever the case is, when they draw a straight line, that line remains straight exactly where you put it. With alcohol ink, it doesn't work that way. It may start off being a line and then bloom out to become an oval shape, or even a triangle, or just this blob. And so I have less control over what I'm doing. So what I always say, it's almost like a dance, and sometimes I'm leading, sometimes the inks are leading. Or it's a battle. Sometimes I win, sometimes the inks win. It just depends on what's happening that day. Everything comes, the environment, everything comes into play with how the inks are going to react.
Gotcha.
So I just kind of wing it and do it until I know that I'm either going to really mess it up, or I feel like there's nothing else that I can do to make this better. Leave it. Because you do that one thing and it can destroy all your work, and you got to start all over again.
Now, with this alcohol ink, would it be more abstract art, or?
For me,
Okay.
it's abstract. There are some artists, alcohol ink, another thing I should say about alcohol ink is with markers, if you're using alcohol-based markers, like when you smell a magic marker, it has that smell. Of course, I can't remember the brand of the Copic markers.
Or like the Prism, something like that.
Yeah, so there are refills that they offer for those markers. That ink that's in those refills function like alcohol ink because they're alcohol-based pigments, and alcohol ink works best on non-porous surfaces. So I can do it on tile, I can do it on glass, but the medium the substrate I paint on is Yupo paper, which they call a multimedia paper. It's recyclable, really smooth, comes in translucent or white, and the inks are almost sitting on top of the paper or on top of the surface because it doesn't absorb. And that paper is made of plastic pellets that they've melted down and rolled out into sheets. So it doesn't absorb the ink. So the inks are just sitting on top, the same thing when you do it with glass or metal. So it makes it, it's kind of, I don't know how to describe it. It makes it really pliable. You can do a lot with it. So I can, I can draw with it, I can paint with it, I can pour it, I can spray it to get different textures. So you are able to do realism. So going back to with the markers, some people use alcohol ink markers and draw with it. So you're able to do realism. You're able to create structures. If I wanted to make a tree, sure, I can make a tree or a flower or whatever that thing is. I just don't get joy out of it that way. So abstract art, abstraction in general allows the inks to do what they do, and I just have fun. So I try not to get to the point that I'm so focused on it being perfect, or I always say I'm trying to push past just pretty pictures, just pretty paintings. I want to have things that evoke something, a thought with somebody. Or just to get them to step closer, to take a deeper look into what they're seeing. Or someone saying, wow, I see a face, or this looks like something, this looks like a hand, I see a frog. I've had all types of things people say in paintings, but that's the goal. I want them to see what they see. When it comes to abstraction, I try not to even name my paintings for what I actually see. That's no fun for me. I think for people like the patrons or the receivers of art, the people that are taking it in, it's important for them to have a connection with it. I don't want to tell you what to connect with. I want you to have an authentic experience, an authentic connection to my art because you like that piece, or that piece reminds you of your grandmother, or puts you in a happy place, or makes you want to cry, or makes you uncomfortable. I'd rather that than me trying to tell you that when I painted a tree, it's called the tree. Or I say, oh, this is the tree of life. I'm not that type of artist. Nothing wrong with the artists that do that, but I'm not a literal painting. So when I name paintings, it could be inspired by what I see. It could be what I was listening to. It could be the mood that I was in, or something that I see that I'm not going to tell you spot on that's what I see. And that's what makes it fun and exciting.
Nice. Now, being that this abstract, would you categorize yourself, if you had to, as an abstract artist or something else?
I would say an abstract artist. Absolutely. I think that's a little more digestible for people. But I don't really get caught up on labels. I'm painting from a place that is happy and fun and free, and I'm not like I will say, like a tortured artist. I'm not painting from a dark place, trying to exercise some past demons or trying to get out some deep emotional things. No, there are some paintings that come out a little darker, but usually that's with intent. You know, I'm intending to do something darker, or the inks have completely fought against me, and I can't get anything light out of it. So let's go to the dark side and make everything dark and see what happens.
Yes.
But I paint from a happy place, a place of joy, a place where I am having fun, and very often people say that they can see that in my work, that I can tell that you are having a good time when you're painting this.
Sweet. Now, I know there's a lot of trends going on out there. Is there any that you may like or follow, if any?
I try not, it's typical, I try not to follow the trend. But I think alcohol ink is starting to trend.
Okay.
It was a medium that a lot of people didn't know about or don't know about. And now I'm seeing more alcohol ink artists pop up, people, trying it, which is great. I love being part of a medium that people haven't really explored yet. So that gives me the opportunity to make my mark and be a pioneer in that space.
Yeah, and they follow your trend.
Right. And set the trends and have people say, you really inspire me. Like, I really love your use of color or the way that you do that. How do you do these things? I'll let you see a little bit behind the curtain. But I'm not going to show you everything. I think, especially when it comes to alcohol ink and abstraction, it's important to explore and find your own voice. You can look at different artists for references. I think it's important to kind of know your references and know sometimes why you're making the choices that you make. But I think it's important to kind of try and set your own bar, your own mark, and set your own trend. But as far as like art trends, I think there's a trend for people to be inspired by like Basquiat. I think that it's a trend for people to do like poured acrylics, doing poured.
Oh yeah, that flow acrylic.
So I think that's a trend. I think alcohol ink is a trend. Digital art, I don't know if I want to. I'm seeing or being exposed to more digital artists than ever before, and I think that probably goes hand in hand with technology advancements. So I wouldn't put that as a trend. I just think it's just a booming part of contemporary art. I think digital is becoming more respected, more accepted, with like the classic forms of art, so to speak.
Ooh, cool. Now, what are your biggest influences when you're creating art?
Influences, music. I can't paint in silence.
No.
So honestly, right now it's kind of weird being quiet. There's always some music playing or something in my house, especially in the studio space. So music is just something that's needed. I don't know if it's an inspiration, but it's part of my process. I have to have music. But as far as inspirations, like artists that inspire me, my mom, one who introduced me to alcohol ink, and she works in oil and acrylics and wireworks and all types of things. That she's someone that I look to, even as just like feedback. So we paint on FaceTime almost every night. So I look to her, so she is an influence. There are a lot of abstract artists, like locally here in Jersey City. Anthony Boone is killing the game, and being able to make his mark. What I also look to are people that handle the business side of art really well. So those are the people that I kind of look to. Boone is one of those examples who has mastered creating a male target audience in art. And that's not something that, I don't even know if he's doing it intentionally, but he's someone that I can look at and say, they're doing something different and it's working.
Yeah, I peeked him out a couple times. So yeah,
and so seeing that, I've seen guys like screaming his name, like, boom, like, I love your stuff. He has been able to tap into the black male market in art. That doesn't happen. It doesn't happen where people are wearing your logo and branded merchandise with someone else's art on it. That's not to be like overlooked at or taken for granted at all. So seeing him do that, Genesis Tremaine, who is killing it everywhere, and she's just a great spirit and energy. These are people that are just like, I think are really doing amazing things locally. So there's so many, but directly like inspirations, people that I look at people for their business savvy, also for their artistic excellence too.
I like the fact that you said your mother is part of your inspiration, because there are a lot of parents out there who are dream killers.
Oh, yeah.
And your mother encourages what you do.
I wouldn't say my parents, just period, have always been open to letting me be exactly who I am in any way. But they also made me responsible in saying, you can do all of those things, but you have to be able to pay your bills. So I think having someone that understands your creative energy, your creative mind, but also instilling that you need to handle your business is just as important. Where what I think typically happens with most parents is they say, forget that dream, you need to go and get a real job. You need to go get a good government job. That's what they say. And it's not that I don't think it's intentionally trying to squash the dreams, but it does, because what happens is you get so focused on paying your bills that you kind of lose sight of what you wanted to be, and that may have been an artist, a singer, a writer, and that doesn't always pay the bills, unfortunately. So I'm grateful to have parents that encouraged me to do everything. It wasn't like, you can't do this or this, you have to figure out a way of doing both.
Yes.
So if you want to do art, you make sure that you have your bills paid. I don't want to hear anything about rent was due or whatever else, and you went out and bought art supplies. So it was always a balance. So that was part of the reason why I went to FIT. I started off at Howard University in Washington, D.C., and knew that my life was bigger than D.C. So I said, I'm going to go to FIT. And my parents were like, you're not going to fashion school. Like, what are you going to fashion school for? So at the time, I thought I wanted to be a fashion designer. Or I wanted to go into fashion buying and merchandising. And then after exploring that for a little bit, I'm like, no, that's not it. But I realized that going to FIT, I could get everything that I wanted. I could be in New York City, I could go to a fashion school, but I went to school for advertising and marketing. And so that would put me in a position to be exposed to everything, but getting the business knowledge in order to kind of survive. And I knew that marketing, advertising, I could take anywhere in the world. And so I focused on that, and it worked out.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. Now, is there any piece that you have that you're most proud of?
I have a lot. You know what? That sounds bad. I have a lot. No, but there are certain pieces that I've put in shows or have been on the verge of being sold, and that little voice is like, you can't let it go. It's very rare. There's a couple pieces, I think a total of 5 pieces that I won't sell. And those are usually ones that end up on my wall. And if I initially I would not hang any of my art on my walls, because I would become attached to it, and when it was time for it to go to a show, it would be an issue for me. So if I'm not comfortable with saying goodbye to it, I won't show it. So I don't ever put things in shows that are not for sale. Everything is for sale.
Now, some of those ones that you're, I guess you could say, attached to, are your personality put into them?
Absolutely. Or sometimes there's a story behind it. The piece that's on the wall here, Breakthrough, is a piece that means a lot because it was something that had to be pushed. I'll tell you a story about it. What it was is that painting didn't look anything like that at all. It started off being greens and golds. And I worked on it and I thought, I love this. I love this painting. And I FaceTimed my mom and was like, take a look at this. I was ready. And she was like, which is the worst reaction that somebody could have to your work. She was like, I feel like you can push a little further. So I was like, all right, I'll keep going. Did some more work on it, added some layers, added some texture, added some glitter, some sparkle. Like I went in again and she was like, it's better, but I feel like you can kind of
keep it going.
Keep going. So I'm like, all right. And by the third time I thought, I don't care what she says, this piece is done. And I showed it to her and she said, yes, that's it. And that's why I called it Breakthrough, because it was one of those moments where I thought enough was enough. Like, that's enough. I've gone as far as I needed to. This is nice. And then I kept going. She kept pushing and kept pushing till I got to that breakthrough moment. That where I knew, regardless of what anybody said, that's what I wanted to look like. I can stop. And so that's one painting that stands out. I have a painting called Manifest Wildest Dreams that I worked on bringing into, coming into the new year last year. And that piece meant a lot to me because I felt like last year was the year for me to manifest my wildest dreams when it came to art. It happened, you know, but that one I've put into a solo show that I did back in the summer. And was glad that it didn't go, so I got it back. So it will be one of those ones that I'll be very selective about putting it out. And then I just finished this year, coming into the new year, a piece, Love, Balance, Truth, which is the thing. I theme my years. So instead of doing New Year's resolutions, I theme my years, and it's almost like a goal setting thing. Gotcha. And so Love, Balance, Truth is the largest painting I've ever done. It's 5 feet by 10 feet. And so that's how I brought in my new year this year. And that's one that I want to show, but I'm not prepared to sell yet.
Gotcha.
So.
All right. Now, creative blocks. Every artist has it. It comes from time to time. What is it that you do to overcome those creative blocks?
So this is a thing for me. I don't believe in creative blocks.
Okay.
I don't allow myself to get in that space. If I instill in my mind that I can't do something, I'm not going to be able to do it.
Okay.
And often, we as artists put ourselves in a corner and make it okay to not be able to create. And we'll call that a creative block. I'm not inspired. It's not working. Any of those things. I think part of it is being an alcohol ink artist, I'm not in complete control. So there are times that nothing is happening, where I'm just like, tonight is not gonna happen. Or I'll start a second piece. I'll start something else. Because I think about when I'm creating, it's the same as with a singer who has to warm up their voice, an actor that has to rehearse their lines. We as artists have to continue that process so that the creative block can't happen. It doesn't exist. You continue to work until something happens. We've all had that moment where you think, this is not working, this is bullshit, this is not working. And then somehow 45 minutes later, you found yourself in a groove and you're like, no, I like where this is headed. I like, hold on. It may take a little bit, but I think the creative block is something that's in our heads because we're already painting before we've picked up a brush, before you have already turned on your computer to do your work. You have already started painting. That process started way before you picked up anything. So the idea that it's blocked, you created that block. You can just as easily make a different choice and go in the other direction and do something else. Or you start to explore until something clicks.
And there's times where I'm trying to create something, I'll have to walk away for a minute, you know, and then come back like, oh man, and and boom, it's there.
So usually I don't, like, I know some people really do in their minds get creative block. I don't have that happen. Mm-hmm. I can't allow myself to get into the space where I say I can't do something when it comes to my art. I may not be able to go in and do the initial idea or concept that I started with, but that doesn't mean that I'm blocked. It just means that I just had to take a different path. And if I got to get off that path and start another one and work on something else, I will and come back. But I haven't, maybe I've been lucky in that sense. I haven't had that moment where I felt like I'm creatively blocked.
Gotcha.
I will keep exploring and painting until something comes to be. And that's just the way that I think about everything. It's not anything that I cannot do. I can do anything with a plan. And it's the same, if the plan doesn't work, you try another way. That goes back to the way that I was raised with my parents. There were times where you would say, like, I'm bored, I can't find anything to do. And that's when mother would say stuff like, oh, I can find something for you to do. You could do this, you can go clean your room, you can go study that homework, you can go do this thing. But the idea that I can't do something, no, it may be something that I could get better at, something that I need to learn, something I need to, rethink or overcome, whatever that is. But I can do anything. We as artists, that's part of our being. It's like we are superheroes. We can do anything, even if it's just in our imagination. The way that we play with color, we can do anything. There's no rule book saying that a painting can't be all red. Or it can't be all you're not allowed to do this in art. You can do whatever you want to.
True. Yeah.
So, like, that's with creative block or any of that, it doesn't exist. We're superheroes. We can do any of it. Any way that we want to. The eyes don't have to be at the top of the head. We can put them in the back of the head. Or in abstraction, we don't have to have eyes. We can put one at the top, one at the bottom. You can do whatever it is that you want to do. So, why not?
It's good information. Good information. Now, in your profession or art profession, what are the best and worst?
Best and worst. Best is being able to get the stuff out. There are some people that paint from an emotional place. Mm-hmm. So having the ability to get that stuff out is great. That's the best part of it. The worst part of it, I think, is doubt, when you're not sure. Because I think we all have a moment where you're just not sure if it's good enough. Or, is this strong enough? Is this something I want to submit? Am I ready to share this? That doubt that you have, that's the bad stuff. But that also kind of powers the good stuff. I always hear people say, I'm afraid to do this, I'm scared, and I've always, recently, I won't say always, but I'm trying to get to the mindset of nothing scares me, I can do it scared. Don't let the fear keep you from doing it. So that doubt part is a bad part of it. And it sucks to have people not love your art. That sucks. Where you feel like you've mastered something and somebody gives you that doesn't feel good, but you have to have thick skin, enough armor in art to kind of deal with it. Everybody's not going to like your work. Everybody's not going to feel as passionate about it as you do. People aren't always going to love the choices that you've made artistically. But it's the flip side of that is that you're not supposed to be doing it for other people. You're supposed to be doing it from a place that helps you. And people will see that. So it's good. Good side is getting the stuff out. Bad side is the doubt or just being uncertain about it all.
Okay, this is a playful question. Name a couple artists that you would love to have for dinner and why.
Dead or alive.
Dead or alive.
Maxwell Parrish, someone that I always admired his work because he has a great way of playing with light. Tiffany, from like the Tiffany lamp. Stained glass I just love. So just the idea of being able to have someone at dinner that fabricated but also did glass work would be someone else. Andy Warhol.
Oh.
And not because of the art, but because of like the popularity, the buzz of the New York City art scene, and what it's like to become an art darling, like the sweetheart of art. You know, whether people like your work or not, but to be able to become a superstar in the art world with a legacy in like abstract pop art. Just to kind of hear his thinking about where things are now. And somebody like Jacob Lawrence, black artist, like someone that can talk about being an artist of color and trying to navigate the art world when I won't say that the odds are stacked against you because I don't think that's fair, but people don't respect your work as much as some of your other counterparts. But like a James Baldwin, like a writer, someone else, that Langston Hughes, people that could speak about the plight of black men as artists, the toxic masculinity, and being a gay writer or an influencer, and how it looks so different now would be also some other people at this party. And just because she's like a spirit animal, Oprah just has to be there. And since it's anybody, Barack Obama and Michelle Obama, just because they need to be there, period.
True.
Because they're artists in a different way. The art of humanity. That's what we'll go with.
Okay.
I think that's it. And well, my mom would be there because she's not gonna let a dinner happen
without her being
there and like planning the menu and stuff. So those will be it, I think. And I'm sure in a couple minutes somebody else will pop into my head.
No problem. So before we close out this episode, is there anything that you'd like to add?
As artists, make sure you have your business together.
Correct.
It is easy for us to be coaxed into doing shows for visibility, or people asking you to donate a piece of art because these people will be there. And it's easy for us to get caught up in that. Make sure that you have your business in mind. Make sure that you understand pricing and the reason why things are priced the way that they are. Be comfortable saying no sometimes. Old saying, all money ain't good money.
Yes.
So I think it's important to be savvy about your business. Know that there are some people that prey on artists because they know that we want the visibility, we want the exposure, we all want people to buy our art, but they are willing to undercut the artist. So you have to know your value as an artist, understand your pricing, understand what your goal is. Don't let people tell you that you aren't allowed to put your art where you want to put your art. So the business is like, there is a business to art. It is not just creating beautiful things. It's a business. So know that when you work with galleries, there are going to be contracts. And you need to be able to read your contracts and understand what's expected of you, but also go in knowing what you expect of them. Because we've always had that dream that if I could just get into a gallery, everything would be perfect. If I can get a gallery to represent me, that would be perfect. And not knowing that you could lose up to 50% of your money in commissions. And so you have to price accordingly. And when you do that analysis, sometimes you'll often find that you're giving away your art You are giving away your creativity. Art is an expensive business, and so you cannot treat your business like a hobby. A hobby you do for fun, just to kind of get some stuff out. But art is a business, and if you intend to be a successful artist, you need to think about your art as a business. You are an entrepreneur. You are a business owner. And it just so happens that that business deals with art and beautiful things and inspiring people. But you don't do it for fun. You do it because you want to get paid. You want to make the money back that you put in and be able to put some money in the bank so that you can keep your lights on. Those are the things that I think it's important for all artists to know and to understand, that your art is a representation of who you are. Your art is a brand. Art is your brand. So that's something that you need to really focus on. Every decision that you make, every show that you choose, every piece that you submit to a gallery for an exhibition, it goes into your business. There's a business plan to everything that you're doing. Nothing should be on accident. Everything should be on purpose. You stay ready so you don't have to get ready. That's how I think about it. Always think about your art as a business, and don't let people undercut you. Know that your value of your work is important. What you put out is important, and that people need to pay for it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, Mr. Bryant Small, Alcohol Inc. artist.
Yes.
Thank you for sitting down with FunkStudios Control the Cool on this episode of The Day in the Life of the Artist. Much love.
Thanks.
Much appreciation.
Thank you so much.
And thank you.
Have a good one.
All right.
I'm Bryant Small, and this is A Day in the Life of the Artist.